Hi, this is your BoomerTECH guide, Chris Toy, and today we're going to look at the Apple menu. You're welcome to subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, we welcome those as well. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. So, let's head right over to the Apple menu. You can see it right here. On my computer, the Apple is white because I have a black background. If you have a white background, this little strip here, your Apple will be black. So let's click on that and you'll get a drop-down menu, and you'll see there are several things that are listed here. For this video, we are just going to take a look at About This Mac right here. We'll click on that and you'll see this dashboard pops up, and you'll see that there's Overview, Displays, Storage, Support, and Service. And we'll pound down through those menus. But before we do that, let's take a look at what's on this display. We have here High Sierra, which is now an older operating system, so I need to do an update, but we'll talk about that at another time. This will also give us the version number of the operating system. So in this case, it's Mac OS, High Sierra, and the version 10.13.2. This piece of information next down right here is when the computer was built. In this case, it looks like it's almost time for me to update my computer since it was 2011. It'll also tell us that it's an Air and it's 11-inch. The processor will tell us what piece of hardware is in there running things. The memory here refers to what's called the random access memory, or the RAM, and this is the memory that's used to run programs. The larger the number, generally speaking, the faster and more efficient the computer will run programs. 4 gigabytes would be the minimum. You can actually have RAM added afterwards if you want. I would recommend that you buy as much RAM when you purchase your computer. It always is a little bit more expensive to add RAM. The startup disk is just the name of the disk. In this case, it's intuitive. It's the Macintosh hard drive. Graphics refers to a graphics processor. This is really only important to folks that are using this for gaming or that do a lot of video work. The serial number is important. You'll want to write this down on a piece of paper so that you can share it in case your computer stops working and you need to call Apple and get some help for that. You'll also use this whenever you call Apple support for any reason, and it just identifies your machine specifically. Down here, we're not going to go into these, but if I were looking to update from this High Sierra to the more current system, operating system, I would click on this and it would take me to the software update website. You would need to be connected to the internet to do that. So let's go to the next menu item here under Displays. This tells us that we are currently using the built-in display on the laptop. If we were connected to an external display, sometimes what you want to do is get a larger screen so that you can be more efficient with your work, or because you want to watch movies and it's bigger. This will identify other displays if they're connected. And if you needed to switch between displays, or if there are ways that you wanted to configure your displays, this is where you would do that down here. We're not going to go into that at this point because I want to do the fun thing now, which is to take a look at the storage capacity and what's in our storage, and we'll talk a little about why that matters. So we'll go up here and we'll click on storage, and you'll get this nice little bar graph, and this identifies what types of things are using up space in your hard drive. This is storage here, and it describes the capacity, and in this case it's 251 gigabytes of storage, and it also describes a type of storage. So this is flash storage, which means there's no moving parts. It's not a disk drive, it's just a hard drive. It's a flash drive on the computer. So here it is, Macintosh hard drive, as it was mentioned earlier. That's the name of it. So it's telling me that I have 57.73 gigabytes available of 251.79 gigabytes. So this is telling me that my drive is pretty full. And this is when it really kind of matters, because this is where you might want to talk about or think about managing what's in there. So you can see by far the largest amount of space being used is with documents, and that would be anything that you've created or downloaded that's on your drive. So this could be word processing documents, it could be presentations, it could be pictures, video, music, anything that you've added. Here, this is the operating system, and you can see it's a pretty hefty operating system. And this is, you know, the software that makes your computer work. Here's photos, here's the Icloud Drive, and this is what is being shared with the cloud, or what's out on the internet for whatever company that you are storing things. And in this case, it's Apple's iCloud. Here's the number of apps, or the amount of apps, space that's being used by the apps, and you can go right down through. And the trash, you can see, and we'll talk about the trash a little bit later, but it's good if you're trying to save space to regularly empty your trash. So when you get this full, what you might want to take a look at doing is you may want to look at managing your drive. And you can just click on this Manage button, and you'll see, again, this is, rather than a graph, you can see a list of what's being used here. And over here, there are things that you can do. So if you want to save space on your computer, you can store more things in the cloud. We're not going to talk about that now, but if you wanted to go back and look at that, you would just click on this, and you would get to choose what you store in the cloud. Some people like to store pictures and videos and documents and things like that. So you could do that, and what that would do is it would free up space on your disk. This is a way to optimize your space, and what that does is it tells the computer to automatically remove some things that you've already watched and assume that you're not going to watch again. And you can save space by doing that. As I mentioned earlier, if you can set this to empty your trash automatically, so that after 30 days, anything that's in the trash gets emptied out. Remember, anything that's in your trash actually takes up space on your drive because the trash is in the drive. So you could do that. And this one here is, what I found it does is it kind of sorts through things, and it deletes things that it deems are not needed. It will generally ask you first before it does that, but then you can delete it. It also will sort so that things that are related to one another are closer to one another on your drive, so that makes it faster for your drive to work. So that would be how you might be able to manage your drive to maximize its space and its efficiency. So let's move on to support. So this would be if you were looking for answers to questions about your Macintosh. If you were connected, you could click on Mac Help, and that would connect you online with Apple. This is interesting. Some of us still like to read manuals, and if you clicked on that and you're connected online, this would take you to a PDF of a manual that you could download and you could read. If you wanted to, you could print it as well. If you're one of those folks that like to have something in your hand that you're reading, or you could just read that online. If you had specific questions about the operating system, this would be where you would click to get answers about that. Again, you would need to be online to do that. And then there's other types of Macintosh support that you could get here. The last button would be if you wanted to check on getting repairs, or if you wanted to add RAM or things like that and you wanted to get it serviced, you would click here and then you would be able to choose these options down here. This is where you're definitely going to want to have your serial number that we had talked about earlier. So there you have it, the Apple menu right here, and you can get the overview, you could get displays, the storage, great fun, where to go for some online support, and service. So that's it for the Apple menu. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.